Hi, my name is Erin, and I write fantasy fiction and poetry.
And I'm KR House, and I write fantasy and science fiction.
And today we're going to be talking about heroes in stories. Ooh. What makes a good hero? What are the different kinds of heroes? What are our overall thoughts? So, so there's a ton of different kinds of heroes. I think the first thing that comes to mind, pretty easy to guess, is like superheroes, and just thinking about like the movies that have come out in the past like decade or so, and when you get them all together, it's like they're all so distinct but still to some degree heroic. I don't know. So there's just so many different things you can do with a hero. What's the difference between a hero and a protagonist? That's not always, I don't know.
That's
Sometimes
true.
They're not exactly the same. So what do you kind of prefer in a hero?
And I think there's a lot of different types of heroes that I do like, because there are some that's like the anti-hero, right? Kind of your like Iron Man is a little bit of an anti-hero at the beginning. I'm trying to think of anti-heroes. The Punisher is one, but I've never actually seen anything with the Punisher. I just know he's an anti-hero.
Yeah.
Oh, Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like anti-heroes. I also like the ones that are like the pure good, like Superman. I like Superman. I think there's also like the everyman hero. I think could also be a category where it's like the hero is like yes, they're the protagonist, but maybe they're not the hero in the sense of like they're this like beacon of good or like a superpowered person. Like they're just a regular person whose story we're happening to tell. Like I think of like Frodo in like Lord of the Rings. Like he's a hero, but he's the hero of the story, or one of the heroes of the story. There's a lot of them, but he's kind of just a regular guy. Yeah.
So with some of those, so you've got your like just awesome all around good person like Superman. One of the things Superman kind of gets criticized for is not having that many flaws. But then you've got your everyman, who they're like flaws left and right, 'cause they're just like everyman. Anyway, so do you have like an approach for considering that when like building characters, or like things you prefer to see in heroes or not too?
I think as far as like characters that I write, I prefer flawed characters. I don't think all heroes have to have flaws. I think that's like a common writing advice thing. Is like, oh, make sure your heroes have flaws. Like they don't have to, because like sometimes they like don't really like and I think it's fine because it's still satisfying and fun to watch good triumph. You're like, yes, the good person is like making this happen and doing good things. But when I write characters, I want them to have flaws, because I feel like it's harder to write a flawless main character without it coming across as like as if like a lack of awareness on the writer's part.
Right.
Because you think of like Mary Sue, like Mary Sue's like, it's like they're meant to be like a stand-in for the author, and like they don't have any flaws, but not in a way that like is inspiring, in just a way that they just feel flat.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm thinking about like the idea of like usually characters that don't have many flaws are also not very interesting. Like it's strange how like they don't have flaws and they also sometimes don't have a personality. So like Superman has a personality, like that's fine, whatever. Just like type 1, type A, whatever. But then like I feel like the spectrum of things you see in media is often a character with no flaws who is kind of like that, where they're just like very kind of like straight-laced. Is that the expression?
Oh yeah.
But then you've got ones where they don't really have flaws and they're just like really weird, I guess. Like just like usually these are like non-human characters or whatever, where they're like very like pure, but also like they're not really affecting very much, because they're just off in their own world doing.
Are you thinking
things.
like what's like an example?
I of course now in the moment can't think of that. But
what do you think, like an animal companion?
Kind of like that. I have a really weird example that I don't know enough about, and I'm sure that if I say this and somebody who knows more sees it, they're gonna be like, that's not real. But like Kirby.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm thinking about something that they're like on the like good side or whatever, and they don't really do anything wrong, but it's just really strange. Like it's not like that's kind of what
Kirby's not really like a person.
Yeah,
like he kind of is.
Yeah,
but
like it's like they're always like these weird creatures that are just in that world or whatever, or like Mort in. Is he in? Never mind. I'm going off.
In Penguins of Madagascar? Or not Madagascar?
I'm not remembering enough about him, but it's just like where he's just like, oh, so sweet. But he's also just weird. Like Mort is not your hero.
Mort and Kirby are almost like fae entities on the side of good.
Yeah, that's the category. But he's like, those are, when we talk about like characters with no flaws, I feel like those are the two options, and there's not a lot of them in the middle where they're kind of like normal, but they're also just like good.
Like Kirby's not like being mean to his friends or like
I mean he might eat them, but
he's not like wrestling with his darker side. Like he's just Kirby
as far as we know. He doesn't say much, but okay. All that aside, I like it when they're interesting characters, and I mean like that's not necessarily like every hero has to be like super interesting and like quirky or whatever. Like that's not really the requirement, but I don't know. It's just kind of, especially in writing, I just don't have a lot of interest in writing the like Superman type character or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of like that's been done, and it's okay if we like have that one really good example. Obviously there are other examples, but that's such like a cultural thing or cultural like icon, I guess, for us, of like that being the kind of character that he is, that it's like the task to recreate that doesn't really feel necessary or useful to me.
Yeah.
At least personally. And I don't know. Sometimes seeing characters that are that, like, yes, I have a lot more of, okay, so like, let's use Vinland Saga as an example.
Oh, okay.
Well, Thor's.
Oh, yes, the dad.
Okay,
yes.
So he has his backstory where we're like, okay, he does have flaws, but his character overall is very much like a very kind of like mostly upright, wholesome person. And that really, at least to me, like builds a lot of like investment in like, okay, I want good things for this character. And then, you know.
Right.
You know. And then like, yeah, other characters where I'm just like, I do want to root for them a lot more, but still, he's not like Superman level of like, I've never done anything wrong.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Well, one thing I think of with flaws also, like before we move on, is I think sometimes, like 2010s YA books are like notorious for like flaws that aren't flaws. Of like, I'm plain and clumsy. And we will get into this when we talk about examples of heroes that we don't like as much, but it's like, I think a flaw should be like a character flaw, right? Like not like like you can't say that Kirby has the flaw of like being spherical. Like he's a Kirby, like that's not a flaw.
It's just really gluttonous.
It's just, well, yeah, I guess
that's different. We don't know he may need that.
He might need that many nutrients.
His metabolism just may be insane.
It's true. It might. But yeah, like oh, I'm clumsy. Oh, I'm like shy. I mean, I guess being shy could be if it's like to an extreme.
Depends.
But like sometimes it's like very surface level.
Right.
And you don't, I'm like, let's get into the meat of why these people have issues.
Yeah. Because it's like a flaw. Those kinds of flaws feel like they're only there to build sympathy. Whereas other flaws where it's like actually a character flaw is like, I don't know about you. Now I have some suspicions, and that just makes it more realistic, makes it easier to kind of be invested and be like, what are you going to do with that? Like, they're just not the same.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think also like you mentioned the difference between like a hero and like a protagonist. And like one thing is like, definition wise, a protagonist is like the person who drives the story, and your hero doesn't. Not all heroes have to be protagonists, and vice versa. Like a protagonist can be a villain, right? It's just the person who drives the story. That's getting a little bit into the weeds of like literary terms,
right?
But regardless, I think one thing to consider when creating heroes, especially if like a main character hero, is like agency and like motivation. Like, why are they on the side of good in this story, and like, do they actually have the power to affect change in the story? Like, or are they just kind of like, whoa?
Yeah. And because there's so many I guess it also depends on like what counts as a hero. Is it just that you did something that saved a bunch of people, or you sought out to save a bunch of people? Like what is, I guess, like really heroic? Because I guess an example, this is going to be a spoiler for something that's kind of newer. You think that's okay?
Oh, what thing?
Tress.
Oh, okay. We'll just give a little spoiler warning.
Little warning.
We'll put where you can skip to not get spoilers for Tress of the Emerald Sea.
Yeah. So she does not go on that journey to save anyone but her boyfriend, right? Like she's not out there with like a general goodwill for mankind, but then she ends up doing something that is heroic and saves a bunch of people or protects them from evil that could have come later. Yeah. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then on the ship, she does a lot to like, yeah. And so it's just like, she is the hero, but her motivation was not what put her on that path.
Like if we compare her to like Superman, her motivation isn't like, I wish just to save humankind.
Yeah, and so I just think that's kind of interesting, I guess, to think about with a hero. Is like, do they have to have that as their original goal? Which I guess hers kind of morphs as she goes along. She's like, okay, well, I can help these people too.
Saving her boyfriend is still pretty admirable.
No, that is still admirable. But I just mean like when you're thinking about like a hero of like mankind, it's like you don't have to. I guess you don't have to like start there. Yeah, maybe I'm kind of losing where I was going.
No, I think
I guess an interesting subset of heroes is the ones that are like accidental heroes.
Yeah,
I guess,
or like they're more ordinary. Yeah, like wanting to save your boyfriend is like a more normal. Like that's like a thing that more people want to help the people they care about versus being like, no, I'm gonna go devote my life to helping strangers. Is like a less common thing.
Yeah. And then, I guess that kind of wraps into agency too, of like, well, that also depends on like, sometimes that's a genre feature of like, if you're like talking about like the monomyth, like the hero's journey or whatever, it's like that kind of implies there's a lack of agency to be the hero.
Oh,
like,
okay.
if destiny calls you, you cannot hang up the phone. Like you, or you can, but it's gonna keep calling.
It's kind of a good quote. If destiny calls, you can't hang up the phone. Yeah,
I'm just kidding. But like, I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thing too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. Yeah, it is an interesting thing to play with of like, is the hero choosing this or has this been kind of thrust upon them? And I don't think there's a wrong way to do that. I think sometimes there's a lot of writing advice that's like, no, you have to make your hero like make obvious choices. And I think, yes, you do. Like, I think it's good for the hero to make some choices, right? Like Tress chooses to go save her boyfriend. But some other stuff, she kind of ends up in this role. Like she steals the jacket and she kind of ends up like, or like the coat or whatever. And people think she's someone that she's not. Yeah. And so like she kind of ends up in this role. And I don't think that's wrong. I don't think it needs to be like, that's the thing where people can be too hard on it. Like the hero must make every single choice and decision. Right.
It's like, she's just a girl.
But because that also feels more like real life. It's like, sometimes there are moments where we have to make a choice, and then sometimes there are moments where we're brought to a place, and then brought there, it's like, okay, now how do we react? And like, sometimes the reaction is also a choice in a way, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know which one's getting posted first, but we have another video, or we'll see, talking about villains and kind of the idea that, you know, there are some villains you have in a story who change their ways and they're not evil and terrible anymore or make terrible choices anymore. So, but a lot of the times when you do have a villain who's maybe presented with that option and they still choose to be evil, or you have ones that don't clearly get that option, and the hero may do something to end the villain's story, or just like kind of like shut them down, I guess. So there's so many ethical and moral questions kind of in that, so many different things to say. So I guess like, do you have any thoughts on like, what does that say about the hero if they're gonna, you know,
like should heroes kill the villains?
I guess. Like, does that undermine the heroicism of a person if they're like, no, it's time for you to go?
I think it depends on the hero in a classic answer. Because I don't think it always does. Because sometimes if the hero chooses not to, let me say it this way. I think sometimes the hero has a responsibility too. And I feel like I like when fiction explores like the idea of like there's like a cost to like doing good or like saving people. Like like the world is so like messy and complicated. Like, okay, this villain, like the joke, like people talk about this right all the time with Batman. People criticize this. I don't know if it's a valid criticism. I don't think Batman needs to kill, but like it would be better for Gotham if the Joker was dead, right?
Fewer people would suffer in certain ways if the Joker wasn't there.
And it kind of gets into the idea, if you want to get really philosophical with it, or like ethics class with it, is like, okay, like is death penalty ever okay, right? And it's like, that's kind of some of the things you're exploring with like these hero things. And it's like, well, especially if the hero is brought to a point where it's like, okay, kill the villain now, or like. No, I think there's also a difference though between like a hero fighting a villain and like the only way to win the fight is to like kill them versus like an execution.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes it's like a self-defense. Well, I mean, if you're already fighting, clearly, like that's kind of a weird definition. But like, yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know. Do you have a different opinion?
Yeah, I don't know if I have I've struggled with this a lot, especially with the story I'm writing, because some people make some choices and I'm like, do I want that to, how do you present that choice, and do you give that choice consequences? Because like justice is a real thing. We like justice. People have very different ideas of what justice is, though, and so it's just kind of, or like in specific situations. So I think it's just one of those things that's just interesting to kind of look at it.
It is.
I liked that you mentioned like with the heroes, like, do I kill him now? Because it makes me think we're going to talk about Marvel in this one too.
Oh, of course.
Get ready.
Of course.
So we did our Tress spoiler warning. This is our Endgame spoiler warning. It's like, because when they're talking about what they're going to do once they all reassemble at the beginning of the movie, and Rhodey's like, well, what if we just go back to baby Thanos and they're like, no, we can't do that. And it's like, well, he thought, like, if one person who's on the side of good thinks that's a reasonable thing to suggest, I don't know. It's just one of those that I don't think that they should have done that either.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
But I think it's just like one of those things of, I don't know. It's just interesting to kind of explore it.
It is. I think it makes sense when like heroes do have to kill the villains and then they have to wrestle with that.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't make sense when heroes kill all the minions and then they get to the big bad and they're like, I can't kill him. And it's like, you just killed 20 of his henchmen.
Yes.
A hero who I think is pretty good, or like, hold on, I'm stuttering over my words. As an example of kind of this and like not killing them is Tanjiro from Demon Slayer, because he, like, every time he fights one of the demons, like, sometimes he does kill them. Well, most of the time he kills them. But before he does, he's always like, you don't have to do this. Like, why are you the way that you are? And like, he like extends empathy to them. And it's like, it's kind of a meme in the show that like every single villain, it's like, he's like, why? And they're like, oh, my tragic backstory.
And then he's like, no.
And then, they like kind of like, the villains kind of like have a come to Jesus moment, or like a change of heart, or like a realization of all that they've done. And it's kind of a meme because it happens all the time. But I think that's interesting, where like he's like, yes, you're literally eating people, so like I'm gonna cut off your head. But also like, I'm sorry that this is where your life has gone.
Yeah. So what are some examples of your favorite heroes or types of heroes you tend to like?
Well, one that we were talking about earlier is Iron Man. He's a really good hero because he like doesn't start in a heroic place, right? And I think like in our villains video, we're talking about like empathizing with the villain and being able to see like, oh, maybe you could have been that. And Iron Man is kind of like, you could see how he could have been a villain, or in some ways was a villain in like the first movie, like at the beginning when he's like this arms dealer. And it's like, oh, but he's like how he changes. And I think that makes all his good actions throughout the series that much more meaningful, because he like had to, it takes effort for Iron Man to be good. He's not just naturally a good person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's a really good point. It's like he had to actually like put some effort into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what about some heroes or type of heroes you don't like very much?
I don't have like a specific example of like a hero that I don't like, because I think in movies and books where like I come across heroes that I don't like, I forget them. It's not keep taking up a lot of RAM. I don't know anything about computers. Anyway, but a trope for heroes that I'm not a huge fan of is kind of like the white knight, or like this like it's often someone who's like this really modern, like academic young person, and oftentimes they are white, but not always. And they like swoop into this situation and they're like, how has no one thought that we should house the homeless? Or like, how has no one ever thought that like conquering these people is bad? Like, we should stop these things. And I feel like there are some stories where heroes like just represent like a really extreme like oversimplification, or like a like this idea that you can like take modern values and just like band-aid them onto like problems from like a fantasy world set in like a more regressive time, like a medieval or like ancient time where there's different things going on. And I feel like that, I don't know, maybe that's a hot take. I don't like it when the heroes are just like, yes, I have come up with the moral solution and everyone else is wrong, and it's me, this new guy or girl who knows everything about everything, and I'm just gonna like, and everyone who disagrees with me is like regressive and wrong. And I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the kind of hero where I'm like, I see that in books sometimes, and I'm like, I don't believe this. I don't believe this one person just has all the answers.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where it's like, it's just too easy, and also like nobody just comes out like that, you know?
Right? Yeah, and it's like typically they're not like sacrificing anything, or like there's no concession. That a lot of times those people, that type of character, like the white knight, is also like flawless, but like in a Mary Sue kind of way. Yeah, in my opinion. How about you? Do you have any types of heroes that you're like, oh, I don't really like this trope for heroes?
I would say so. I don't know, because I am questioning like which types of heroes do I like, and I think it's really just in that category I was kind of talking about earlier, where it's not like Superman, it's like 80-20, like wholesome, 80% wholesome, little bit of flaw. I don't know. I think I just like it when they're like, I can lead this trial. I don't know.
Well, yeah, where they're mostly heroic.
Or, I guess I'm like, it's really simple, but I think I do like it. But so then on the other side of that, ones I don't love the whole morally gray thing as much. It's not that I don't think that that's ever good and that it's not realistic, because I mean, like, obviously that's kind of like every person has their set of morals, and a lot of the times they're going to be different than other. And so it's like I don't know, there's ethical questions that everybody has a different thing that they fall on, whatever. I just think, and maybe it's just because it seems like it's kind of saturated, kind of the more recent like trends in books a little bit. It's like, we just love the morally gray, we love the like broody kind of. I guess Batman kind of fits in that category a little bit. I don't know, not as much. I like Batman.
Yeah, but, he's like morally gray aesthetic, but not actually
morally gray.
Because he's like, I won't kill people.
Yeah, I guess your anti-hero is a little bit closer to morally gray. I just don't love that. Another thing I don't love is when there's a chosen one, but that's like literally all that the chosen one means is just that they are the person who's going to bring the good about, and they cannot be stopped. Like, there is a fate-based guarantee that they will succeed and evil will be vanquished or whatever. But when they don't, like, so like Aang is a good example of not that, where Aang is like, I want the good of everyone, and like that is his motivation, maybe because he's the Avatar, but also a little bit separate from that. Yeah, like it seems like that's it. Well, no, because you look at other avatars that came before him and they didn't necessarily feel like that.
He is like the airbenders like are like pacifists,
right?
And like believe in like all life is sacred.
Exactly. So it's like that is, I like that, but I don't love it when they're like, I'm the chosen one in spite of like not wanting to do this, and it's kind of like they're just being dragged along.
This kind of goes to the agency thing of like they're just kind of floating through the plot.
Or if it's just like, it's almost like a, like it just kind of feels like it's just too easy a little bit, where it's like there's really no reason that they should succeed or participate in this except that they're the chosen
It's like the plot demands that they succeed.
Yeah, it's like if there's a little bit of a reason that they are, or a reason that they would be doing that anyway, I'm like, okay, that's fine. But if it seems like it's totally separate and it's just kind of like you said, like flaws that aren't flaws, and it's like power that isn't really power.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, I just don't love it.
I think it makes sense. I like morally gray heroes.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Chosen One, yeah, I do often really like Chosen One heroes, but I do see where you're coming from, and I agree. I know what you're talking about. Like, there's a lot of times where it's like, yeah, it's Chosen One, but like in a really bland way. Like Wheel of Time, we've talked about that's super Chosen One.
Yeah,
but like it is not necessarily a good thing to be the chosen one.
Yes.
Like they like, and there's a lot more going on with those characters. Yeah, but ones where it's just like, I'm special because the plot demands it. And
because Wheel of Time is a good example of where it's the chosen one that then rises to the occasion of being the chosen, or rises to the challenge of being which then again, I limited Wheel of Time
I'm on book
knowledge here,
6.
But
and it's like, I think Wheel of Time is different because Chosen One also means very bad things.
Yeah, has a lot of consequences.
Yes.
Yeah, which I like that.
Yeah.
I think it's a little interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, those are our thoughts on heroes.
Yep. So if you have different types of heroes that we didn't really get to that you think are kind of an interesting example for any of these things, feel free to comment about that. Or if you just have different thoughts or different examples of heroes in any of these categories, feel free to let us know about that. All right.